Hi YouTube, and welcome back to my random thoughts on Thursdays. This week I have a little bit of a sad story to tell. I'm going to talk a little bit about the cat of mine that passed away this last weekend. Alright, so folks who have been following my channel for a while, you know that I've got two dogs. You often see them wandering around in the background. And in my very early vlogs, you may have actually seen me holding my one cat, Maxie, a few times because he wanted to be in my lap at the same time that I was recording, but often he's off doing something else. And the one pet that you never saw on camera was Mori, because he generally kind of hid down in the basement. He did not like the dogs at all, and so he was like, okay, I've got my cat tree, I've got my food, I'm good. He just kind of decided that that's where he wanted to live. And so we just kind of let him alone. He just kind of liked being off on his own. He always has. But this past weekend, went down to check on him, and unfortunately I found him lying there and didn't move, and turned out that he was gone, and been very sad about it. You may have noticed a video in my list that I put up yesterday was a little tribute to him. He was 10 years old. He would have been 11 this coming August, I believe. So yeah, it was kind of a shock to find him. He was only 10 years old, and I had just taken both of the cats to their annual vet appointment about a month ago, and they both got a clean bill of health. Maxie's a little overweight. Maury was in perfect health according to the doctor. His heart sounded good. Didn't feel anything on him that felt unusual. He didn't react to anything that might have caused him pain or discomfort that would have caused the vet to do additional testing. So everything seemed fine, and he was fine on Saturday. We were out working in the backyard, and I saw him on the basement windowsill where he often liked to look and watch birds flying and stuff, and just to go down there on Sunday and find him, and you know, he looked like he laid down to take a nap and just didn't wake up. The weird thing is that he died with his eyes open. So it was like, it looked almost like he was laying down and giving himself a stretch and just went like that. Honestly don't know how long he'd been down there. It looked like it might have been possibly 12 hours before we found him. That he passed away, because he'd already started to have a little bit of an odor and things, so that kind of indicated it had been a while. But yeah, it's a bit of a shock, and so I just wanted to share with the world a little bit about his story, and as a way for me, when I do look back on these videos in years to come, you know, that I can remember some of the details that, you know I remember now, but I might forget some of the details over the years, now that he's gone and everything. So I got him around October of 2002. He was about 2 months old at the time. He had been found, from what I was told, just abandoned on the side of the road somewhere, and he actually went through a couple of different rescue organizations before ending up with the local Humane Society here, and the Humane Society had him at Petco for adoption. And so I was looking for a companion for Maxie. Maxie was about a year old at that point. I had gotten him the year before, and Maxie, I love him, but he's a very clingy, needy kind of cat, and he really did not like being alone, especially when I went to work during the day, which is very unusual for a cat, but, you know, be that as it may, I wanted to get him a companion so he wouldn't feel as lonely, because my neighbors would say that he'd cry all day long when I wasn't home and was just kind of lamenting the fact that he was alone, so he really needed a companion. And I wanted to get a kitten just because I've always found it easier to introduce a kitten to an older cat. They tend to learn how to get along more quickly than introducing an older cat, you know, two older cats to each other. So, and Maury was actually the only male kitten, actually kitten in general, that I could even find anywhere in my area to adopt. I obviously didn't want to go through a breeder or anything like that. And so I went to check him out, and he was the dirtiest, scrawniest little thing I'd ever seen in a cat. He definitely looked like he was picked off the side of the road and never cleaned or anything. Poor little guy was just a little mess. He had some what looked like scrapes on his nose, or well, he had some brown crusts on his nose. It looked like he'd been injured or something, from what I could tell. But I went ahead and adopted him, brought him home, and didn't realize that he was not well when I first got him. I brought him home and I just kind of set him down, and he just kind of shuffled himself off into a corner and just kind of sat there. And I introduced Maxie to him, and Maxie just kind of hissed and batted at him a little bit, but didn't hurt him or anything, and Mori didn't react at all, which I thought was interesting for a young kitten. You'd think that they'd have more energy, but he seemed just kind of really out of it, really tired. Didn't react to Maxie in any way. And I just kind of, you know, I was like, okay, well, maybe he's just really tired from all the shuffling around and things. And so I just, you know, I made sure there was food out for him. He didn't eat anything or drink anything that evening. But I thought, well, you know, he's scared. He's in a new environment. He's just kind of, you know, huddling and things. I had him on my lap for a little while and he didn't really move. I put him on a soft pillow for a while and he didn't really, he just kind of sat there, just kind of looked and just seemed really out of it. And so the next morning I woke up and the first thing I did was to go and pet him, and he was just burning up. I knew he was running a fever. I mean, cats generally run hotter than humans anyway, but he was like way too hot. And it's not like you can put a thermometer in a cat's mouth, and I didn't have one of those ear ones that the vets have. So I immediately went to emergency vet services with him. And unfortunately, we were actually brought into the exam room, and literally the same time that I sat down in the exam room, a family with a dog with a emergency surgery situation going on arrived, and the doctor had to run off and perform the surgery on the dog. The dog would have, like, within like half an hour, they said the dog would have died if they hadn't operated and things. So I understood, you know, obviously, but I had to sit there for 2 or 3 hours while I was in a kind of holding on to poor little Mori, and he still hadn't eaten or drank anything at that point, and I was real worried about him. And when they finally saw him, they said, yeah, he's severely dehydrated, he's severely malnourished, and he has upper respiratory infection, which is something cats often will get. And so they had to rehydrate him. They got a syringe like this big. It was almost as big as the kitten was to begin with. And rehydrated him and gave me antibiotics to give to him. And for the next 2 months, I was giving him antibiotics, and because he still wouldn't eat or actually drink anything because he felt so bad, for a good month or so, I had to puree his food with water. I had to take wet food and puree it with water and then dropper feed him and just kind of force feed him, because otherwise he wasn't eating. And so I did that for a good month, month and a half, and then towards the end of the 2 months of the antibiotic therapy, he finally started feeling better, and he started eating on his own and everything like that, which was good. And during this time, he really bonded a lot with Maxie. Maxie kind of realized that he was a sick little kitty, and he needed help. And Maxie, I think, realized that Mori wasn't washing himself. So one of the first things Maxie did was hold him down with one paw and just started washing him. And he's like, "You're gonna have a bath, young man." And he just kind of took over washing him for a couple weeks until Mori kind of started feeling better and kind of started doing it himself and everything. And those two just became the best of friends. And Maxie apparently no longer cried during the day while I was gone at work, because he had Mori to keep him company. So I'm very glad that all worked out in the long run. Excuse me a minute. Alright, and as you can see, Maxie has decided he wanted to join me today. He's really missing Mori a lot. He really is, and so he's been very, very clingy again since Mori's gone, because he doesn't have his buddy to hang out with anymore. So he's like, "Mom, I need you." And then he changes his mind and wants to go again. He's a very temperamental. Like, he wants you and then he doesn't want you and then he wants you again. He's up and down, and you know, he's 11, but he's still a good guy. Say hi to YouTube. Alright, there you go, guy. Alright, anyway, so yes, so Mori was very, very sick as a kitten for a good 2 months, and to this day, part of me wonders if there wasn't any lingering internal damage from his being sick for so long that might not have ultimately led to what happened recently. And you know, like I said, we found him. He looked like he was just laying there sleeping, except his eyes were open. Rushed him to the emergency vet services. I mean, he was gone, but I needed to do something with him. I couldn't, like, just leave him alone. I didn't think just burying him in the backyard was the answer. So we rushed him over to the emergency vet services at about midnight on Sunday night, well, Monday morning technically, and we brought him in, and I didn't want an extensive autopsy or anything like that, but I wanted to know what happened. So they said that they could do what they were calling a necropsy and just kind of take a look internally and to see what might have happened, make sure that he didn't swallow anything, make sure that there was nothing infectious that I had to worry about with the other cat, etc. So they went ahead and ordered that and went home, and then the next day the emergency vet called me and told me that they found a little bit of fluid around his heart, and which was surprising because his vet hadn't detected anything unusual with his heart when we were there a month ago. And then there was also what looked like the start of a inflammation on his pancreas. And the emergency vet said, well, without a thorough biopsy, we can't know if it would have been cancer or an infection or, you know, what might have caused that inflammation, but it looked definitely like it was inflamed. And I was not prepared to go and spend a few $100s to get a biopsy done just to find out. So all we know is that there was something going on between his heart and his pancreas that made him just expire. And the sad thing is he showed absolutely no signs of illness at all. Usually there'll be lack of appetite, you know, change in bathroom behavior, painful crying, just something out of the ordinary that would indicate, oh, you know what, he's probably sick, let's take him to the vet. Nothing like that. He was his normal self right up until about, you know, 12 hours before he passed away. It was about maybe 12 hours before that that we'd seen him, and then, you know, I hadn't really checked on him for 12 hours, and then just found him, and he could have died an hour after we last saw him, and we wouldn't have known. We were running around a lot. We weren't home for most of that day, so I honestly don't know when it actually happened that day. But it's surprising because usually you with an indoor domesticated cat, you're used to them growing really old and then starting to have arthritis problems and kidney problems and all these health problems. And all of a sudden, you know, you expect them to eventually pass away and or need to be euthanized if they're in great pain or whatnot. I've lived through now 4 cats passing away. We had 2 kitties when I was a kid. My mom brought them home, and both of them lived to be about 16, 17 years old, and they both developed a lot of health problems in their last year or 2 before they died. And so while it was very sad, it wasn't unexpected, and it was easy to understand and kind of get past it. My other cat, Cringer, I adopted him when he was about 6 years old, and he lived to be about 20, and was relatively healthy for a 20-year-old, but he was 20. So when he finally went, it really wasn't a surprise. But with Mori, like I said, he was 10, he was in perfect health, he was still jumping up 6-foot vertical places. I mean, this cat was, you know, he could jump up. The one thing he kind of missed is he didn't like this new TV that we have here because it's a flat panel. But the other TV that used to be there, he used to jump up on that and then up on because the wall behind me actually doesn't go all the way to the ceiling. So he would jump up there and then he'd be up on the fridge behind me, and so he was all over the place. And was still doing that, you know, a couple months ago. So the fact that he just laid down and died just like that without any warning, I'm struggling with that a lot, and that's the part that I'm having the hardest time getting over, and probably why it's made me, as I've been very, very sad this week, much more so than I would have expected to be, but because of how unexpected this was. Anyway, I'm probably rambling now, and in other news, I guess, just before I wrap up this video, I wasn't able to do a house vlog this week like I wanted to. They weren't quite done with the house yet this week, but I will try and get in there next week and do a vlog there, and so I'll have that up next week. So next week will be a more happy video. And then over the next few weeks, we'll be doing a lot more packing and moving and things, and next week I probably should be able to get a vlog up. The week after, or the next 2 weeks after that, I will try. I can't promise anything because I know I'm going to be pretty insanely busy between work and packing and moving. So we'll see. We'll see if I will have a chance to put a vlog up the week after next or not. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate all the support out there. If you do enjoy my videos and you're not subscribed yet, I would really appreciate you subscribing. And if you like my vlogs, please give my video a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. Alright, until next week, bye-bye.